On a crisp March morning, the historic halls of Parliament buzzed with a sense of renewal and firm resolve. It was Friday, March 14th, when Mark Carney, a man known for his iron will and visionary approach to economic and political challenges, was sworn in as the new Prime Minister of Canada. Replacing Justin Trudeau, whose near-decade-long term had become symbolic of an era, Carney's inauguration marked not just a transition in leadership, but also a defining moment in Canada's national identity and its future direction.
Check one, check two, check.
As Carney stepped up to the podium, the room fell silent. All eyes were on him, the new architect of Canada's destiny, as he began to outline a bold and unwavering vision for the country. With measured yet forceful words, he addressed one of the most contentious and long-debated issues in recent history, Canada's relationship with its powerful neighbor to the south, the United States. In his first address, Carney did more than simply outline policy changes. He delivered a resounding declaration of national pride and independence. "America is not Canada," he proclaimed, emphasizing that Canada's identity, values, and way of life were not for sale, not to be absorbed by an American dream that simply didn't fit. His voice, firm and resolute, echoed the feelings of countless Canadians who had long felt overshadowed by their larger neighbor, but fiercely proud of their unique heritage and traditions. Carney didn't mince words when dismissing U.S. Senator Marco Rubio's claim that Canada could thrive economically by becoming the 51st state. He called such a notion ludicrous, a term that captured the absurdity, in his view, of any proposal to diminish Canada's hard-won sovereignty. Instead, he painted a vivid picture of a nation that was fundamentally different, a country with its own strong institutions, values, and ambitions. However, amidst the strong words and decisive statements, Carney also extended an olive branch. He expressed his hope for a constructive collaboration with the Trump administration, a relationship that, despite its challenges, had long been intertwined with Canada's security and economic interests. However, he made it absolutely clear that collaboration would never come at the cost of compromising Canada's independence or its core values. In a particularly memorable moment, Carney turned his attention to the controversial figure of U.S. President Donald Trump. With an intensity that spoke of both personal conviction and national duty, he labeled Trump a direct threat to Canadian families, workers, and businesses. Carney warned that if American ambitions went unchecked, they would set their sights on Canada's rich resources, its pristine waters, its fertile lands, and the very fabric of its communities. By doing so, he suggested, the American giant wouldn't just annex a country, but would destroy a way of life that had been carefully cultivated for generations. Throughout the speech, Carney's words wove a tapestry of pride, caution, and determination. He reminded his fellow Canadians that their strength lay not only in their economic achievements or natural resources, but in the spirit of unity and independence that defined their nation. It was a call to remember that Canada's greatness was forged through its own struggles and triumphs. A lasting reminder that, while alliances are vital in today's complex world, a nation's heart beats strongest when it stays true to its own ideals. In that decisive moment, as the echoes of his voice filled the chamber, a new chapter was being written for Canada. One that would stand firm against outside pressures, cherish its unique identity, and chart a course towards a future that would be clearly and resolutely Canadian. On a Friday afternoon with tension thick in the air, and storm clouds gathering over the long-running trade and diplomatic disputes between Canada and the U.S., a seismic announcement emerged from Ottawa that would shake the very foundations of North American defense strategy. In a decision that went far beyond the heated debates about tariffs and economic skirmishes, Canada's Ministry of Defense revealed it was actively exploring alternatives to the much-debated American-made F-35 stealth fighter. At the center of this bold move is Defense Minister Bill Blair, a figure known for his practical and level-headed approach to national security. Just hours after being reappointed to Prime Minister Mark Carney's newly formed cabinet, Blair stepped into the spotlight with a statement that signaled nothing less than a strategic rethink. With an air of determination, he announced that Canada would be holding talks with rival aircraft manufacturers. This wasn't just a procedural review, it was a full-blown challenge to the existing status quo, raising serious questions about the nearly $19 billion contract signed with Lockheed Martin in June of 2023 for the acquisition of 88 F-35 fighter jets. Picture the scene in the hallways of Canada's Defence Ministry. High-ranking officials gathered, leaning over confidential documents, the hum of urgency palpable as analysts rushed to evaluate the implications of such a drastic change. Funds had already been allocated for the first 16 F-35s, with deliveries scheduled for early next year, a testament to the long road that led to the original agreement. However, in light of evolving geopolitical realities and growing concerns about U.S. foreign policy under the Trump administration, the government wondered if it was best for Canada to proceed with an all-or-nothing approach. Bill Blair's announcement sent shockwaves through military circles and international markets. For years, the F-35 had been hailed as the cornerstone of modern air defense for many NATO allies, a marvel of stealth, agility, and advanced technology. But Canada's decision to reopen discussions hinted at deeper, more complex concerns. A desire to reduce dependence on U.S. defense systems, and a commitment to fostering a more self-reliant and resilient military capability. The notion was clear. Although the F-35 was a technological triumph, its heavy reliance on infrastructure, maintenance protocols and political backing centered in the United States could come at too high a price in an era marked by uncertainty. The ramifications of this decision were profound. Analysts debated whether this could be the first domino to fall in a series of re-evaluations among NATO allies, all of whom had long relied on American defense technology as a given. In Canada's case, reconsidering the F-35 deal represented not only a fiscal and strategic readjustment, but also a bold assertion of national sovereignty. With every passing minute, as lawmakers carefully considered the alternatives, ranging from the economical Swedish Gripen to potential European collaborative projects, the government emphasized its commitment to safeguarding Canada's unique interests in the context of an unpredictable global landscape. As the news spread, questions arose. Was this a temporary setback for the F-35 program, or a sign of a long-term shift in Canada's defense purchases? And what would this mean for the complex web of North American security, woven together through decades of shared policies and mutual defense agreements? Even though the final answers remained unclear, one thing was certain. Canada was no longer content to be a passive recipient of decisions made on faraway political battlefields. Instead, it was boldly forging its own path, one that balanced fiscal responsibility, strategic autonomy, and the ever-present need to defend a way of life meticulously built over generations. In this unfolding story, the reconsideration of the F-35 deal stands as a symbol of a broader shift, a step towards a future where Canada's defense decisions are not driven solely by external pressures or historical alliances, but by a firm commitment to national identity and self-determination. On a crisp March day, a decision was made that resonated far beyond Portugal's borders, sending shockwaves through the international defense community and sparking heated debates among NATO allies. It was March 14th, a day that would come to symbolize a decisive break with old assumptions, when Portuguese Defense Minister Nuno Melo stepped into the spotlight and announced that Portugal would cancel its plans to buy American F-35 fighter jets to replace its aging fleet of F-16s. Picture this. In a packed press conference room, you could feel the tension mixed with resolve as Melo explained his reasoning. For years, the F-35 had been praised as the peak of stealth technology, a symbol of military might for nations around the globe. However, for Portugal, this multi-million-dollar deal, signed with Lockheed Martin, was no longer the safe investment it once seemed to be. The catalyst for this bold decision wasn't simply a budget restriction or a technical shortcoming. It was a deep concern over the foreign policy of U.S. President Trump and its unpredictable nature.
Check, check, check one, check two, check.
Mello spoke with unwavering conviction about the risks of linking national security to a system so closely tied to the whims of American politics. He expressed serious concerns that the United States could impose unforeseen restrictions on everything, from the operational use of these aircraft to the maintenance of their critical components. From his perspective, such limitations would seriously compromise the overall operational capability of the aircraft, a risk that no nation, much less one as strategically vital as Portugal, could afford. This announcement did more than just cancel a weapons deal, it sent a clear message to the international community. In a climate already filled with uncertainty, Portugal's decision was a powerful declaration of national sovereignty and strategic independence. It was a clear statement that no matter how advanced or attractive American technology might be, it would not come at the expense of Portugal's ability to determine its own destiny in defense matters. The decision was as much about protecting national identity as it was about re-evaluating military capability. As the news spread, the consequences started to unfold. Defense analysts and NATO policymakers rushed to assess the impact of what many called a watershed moment. The F-35 program had long been the gold standard for stealth fighter jets among the Allies, but Portugal's withdrawal forced some serious thought. If a trusted ally could back out of such a major investment because of geopolitical uncertainties, could others be tempted to follow suit? The cancellation raised deep questions about the future of international defense cooperation and the dependence on US-led military systems. A dependence that, in an era marked by rapid political change, might be too precarious. Inside think tanks and government halls, heated debates took place. Experts debated whether Portugal's decision was an isolated reaction to the current political turbulence, or the first domino to fall in a possible reorganization of NATO's defense strategies. The very idea that a lucrative multi-billion-dollar arms deal could be cancelled because of one nation's reassessment of its security priorities was both alarming and, for some, a sign of a long-awaited shift towards greater strategic autonomy. Amidst the international debate, the Portuguese public watched with a mix of pride and apprehension. For many, this bold decision was a reaffirmation of Portugal's independence, a declaration that the nation wouldn't be swept away by the tides of external pressure, regardless of the economic or technological appeal. It showed Portugal's renewed commitment to a defense policy designed around its own national interests, not dictated by the uncertainties of US politics. In the end, Portugal's decision to cancel its purchase of F-35s is more than just a business or political move. It's a symbolic shift in a changing world. It questions the assumption that advanced US military technology is an unavoidable necessity for NATO allies. Instead, it opens the door to a more diversified approach to defense procurement, one where strategic decisions are made based on long-term national security and sovereignty rather than fleeting political trends. As the world watches this drama unfold, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. In today's unpredictable geopolitical climate, even the most advanced weapon systems must be examined not only for their technological merits, but also for the strategic vulnerabilities they might expose. Portugal's bold move could very well signal a broader shift, one that could reshape how nations think about security, alliances, and the true cost of technological dependence. In an era marked by strategic uncertainty and shifting global alliances, Canada is renewing its commitment to strengthen its own defense capabilities. As discussions about the F-35 deal and international pressures intensify, the government is taking decisive steps to ensure that the Canadian Armed Forces and the Canadian Coast Guard are equipped with cutting-edge technology. This robust defense procurement strategy not only guarantees the country's military readiness, but also plays a vital role in boosting the national economy by creating thousands of jobs and promoting sustained economic growth. The Canadian defense industry, a powerhouse employing over 64,000 people and generating approximately 10 billion Canadian dollars in annual revenue, is at the heart of this transformation. Key players like General Dynamics Land Systems Canada and CAE Inc. are essential in the production of armored vehicles, the development of advanced simulation technologies, and the provision of top-notch training services. Recent contracts, like the ones for up to 16 Boeing P-8A Poseidon aircraft for maritime surveillance, and MQ-9B Sky Guardian drones for intelligence and reconnaissance, underscore the government's commitment to maintaining a technological advantage. Also, Canada's willingness to explore alternatives, like the versatile and cost-effective Swedish Saab Gripen, which even offers the possibility of domestic assembly, points to a broader ambition. By diversifying its military partnerships and lessening its reliance on U.S. defense technology, Canada is charting a course toward a more self-reliant and resilient defense posture. This strategy not only improves Canada's national security, but also strengthens its international partnerships, laying the groundwork for more collaborative efforts in the defense sector. As Canada continues to invest in its defense infrastructure, it's clear that this approach is designed to safeguard national sovereignty and at the same time boost economic prosperity. Through strategic acquisition, national innovation, and strengthening international ties, Canada is prepared to face future security challenges, ensuring that its armed forces remain a formidable force in the future. As global security dynamics evolve, Europe is undergoing a profound transformation in its defense strategy. The continent, long reliant on U.S. military technology and strategic support, is now taking bold steps towards greater self-sufficiency. The unveiling of the Rearm Europe plan in March 2025 marks a historic shift, with European countries pledging up to €800 billion to strengthen their defense capabilities. This massive investment signals a determination to address vulnerabilities, particularly in areas like the production of artillery shells, long-range ammunition, and advanced weapons systems. However, this push for autonomy is not without its challenges. European defense industries are grappling with production bottlenecks, supply chain disruptions, and the complexities of scaling up manufacturing to meet the growing demand. As countries like France and Germany lead the development of next-generation fighter jets and missile defense systems and armored vehicles, smaller NATO allies are exploring alternative ways to buy military equipment to make sure they are ready for anything. In this situation, Canada rethinking its F-35 deal and its growing partnerships with European defense suppliers suggests a possible shift in North American and transatlantic defense alliances. By exploring partnerships with European manufacturers, like Sweden's Saab for fighter jets or Germany's Rheinmetall for the production of armored vehicles, Canada is signaling its willingness to diversify its defense relationships beyond its traditional reliance on U.S. military technology. As European nations and Canada seek greater control over their defense capabilities, the overall implications are clear. The global defense landscape is entering a new era, one defined by strategic recalibrations, evolving alliances, and a collective effort to ensure military readiness in an increasingly uncertain world. Mark Carney's inaugural address has laid the groundwork for a decisive shift in Canada's geopolitical stance, one marked by unwavering sovereignty and strategic realignment. By firmly rejecting any notion of annexation by the United States, Carney has drawn a clear line between Canada's national identity and American influence. However, beyond the speeches, his administration faces a rapidly changing defense and diplomatic landscape where important decisions will shape the nation's future. The $19 billion deal for the F-35, once seen as the cornerstone of Canada's military modernization, now sits at the center of wider tensions with Washington. Portugal's sudden withdrawal from its own F-35 purchase, highlights the growing unease among NATO allies regarding U.S. foreign policy under Trump's presidency. This uncertainty has led Canada to rethink its defense partnerships, exploring European alternatives to lessen its reliance on U.S. military technology. As Canada strengthens its national defense industry by investing in innovation and strategic partnerships, a larger geopolitical transformation is taking place. Europe's push for military self-reliance, shown by the Rearm Europe initiative, signals a change that could reshape security cooperation across the Atlantic. In this era of uncertainty, Canada's path forward will not only determine its military stance, but will also influence the balance of power between North America and Europe in the